Hello friends, it is Friday, February 28th, 2025, and let's talk about H5N1. It has been eerily quiet, with data coming out mostly from states in drips and drabs, which makes me think that, firing the people in charge of the bird flu response at the USDA might have had some consequences. Because yeah, they did that, and they still haven't gotten their laptops back, and their supervisors are being asked to justify their rehires. You couldn't make this shit up. But here's the news that's fit to print. I have gotten avian flu death warnings from over a dozen states, where they are finding hundreds of birds, whether they are ducks or geese, swans or songbirds, that have had mass deaths. So if you see a dead or sick bird, for the love of God, don't touch it. I hope that you're wearing a mask because this is airborne. And call animal control. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Anybody who is handling dead birds should be wearing hazmat gear, basically. Gloves, masks, goggles, and clothes and shoes that they do not take back into their house. They need to decontaminate themselves before they go back in their house. But I digress. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is trying to contain the spread of flu and bring back chickens and eggs. They're investing $1 billion in doing it. The problem is, one of their ideas is to not let bird flocks die, but instead have people going in and removing dead birds and trying to let the rest of the flock survive. And here's why that's not the best idea. One, that means that you are exposing those employees over and over again to a highly contaminated area where they may or may not have enough PPE or be wearing it correctly to prevent transmission to those people. Two, that gives it lots of new hosts to transmit to and mutate in. And most importantly, three, the fatality rate within 48 hours is 90 to 100% of the chickens. So we're basically just prolonging their suffering. The USDA did not put out an update for H5N1 infected dairy herds as far as I've seen. So not sure exactly what that means. New Jersey reports its first official infection in cats, one feral, one indoor-outdoor. Origin of their infection is unknown. In addition to the clusterfuck of data reporting, Dr. Brainworm is reevaluating funding for Moderna for their H5N1 vaccine. You know, the one that's supposed to protect us if this does go human to human. They've also stopped development on the next gen of COVID vaccines. Lord help us. Now, a lot of people have been saying, but the human cases seem to be so much milder. And I want to have a pretty frank discussion about that. First, a 2-year-old in Cambodia died of H5N1 earlier this week, so not exactly mild. And the two most recent human cases in the US both required hospitalization. The patient in Ohio was hospitalized for both respiratory and non-respiratory symptoms, meaning they didn't just have conjunctivitis, they didn't just have a little bit of a cough. They had severe enough symptoms, both respiratory and non-respiratory, to require hospitalization. They were hospitalized for several days. The Wyoming patient who was hospitalized after exposure to a backyard poultry flock was also hospitalized for respiratory and non-respiratory symptoms. They were released from the hospital a couple of days ago, but given that we haven't released publicly when exactly they were hospitalized, but it was announced on the 15th that they had been hospitalized, and it wasn't announced until the 25th that they were released, they were in the hospital for at least a week, most likely 10 or more days, because in their press release on the 15th, they said they had been hospitalized within the last 2 weeks. And they were released on the 25th of February. So I would not classify that as being a mild case if they required hospitalization treatment for more than a week, possibly 3 weeks. That brings the official case count up to 70, with an additional 7 probable cases, 4 of whom have no known source. So not cows, not birds. We don't know, and that's not good. And across all cases in this current strain, globally, there is a 2% fatality rate. Also, the human case from Wyoming did have one of the human adaptations for better mammalian transmission, but did not seem to have any of the ones that impacted antivirals or potential vaccines that we already have in our arsenal. Not that I think that Dr. Brainworm would actually deploy them, because he's actively working to not get us any more. But I digress. I hope that the slow news means that things are calming down. But I fear that the no news is the fact that the federal government is in absolute chaos and still isn't allowed to completely freely talk to the public. And let's be clear, when I say talk to the public, I mean share the data that we as taxpayers pay for with us, without a political appointee censoring it. That's the reality we're in right now. So H5N1 is not guaranteed to be mild. Still very much trying to get out there and infect humans. I don't know that the federal government's going to do anything to stop it, but I don't see the price of eggs or milk or chicken going down anytime soon. Wear a mask, stay alert, and stay safe, friends.